So hello everyone, welcome to Neuro Explorers. So today we are going to explore an essential psychological test that is widely used in India, especially in the hospitals such as Psych, the Binet Kamat test of intelligence or BKT. Now first up in this video we will be talking about the general BKT stuff, that is what it is, which domains it is, basically your exam stuff that would be used for your viva. It is specifically necessary when let's suppose that you do an internship to Psych. So usually the process of Psych internship is that you will get to observe ECTs and OPDs in the first week, as well as certain tests that they are going to be conducted. Now usually Psych has a very good base for learning BKT because that is something that is conducted there almost regularly. Now before you go on administrating it, you will need to observe the test that is done by your seniors, and then you would need to give a viva. So viva would eventually have some basic understanding of what BKT is. The essential element of the viva at Psych is your sums that the head will give. So the sums is the scoring part that we will be doing in the next video. Right now we will be covering what is a basic scoring, but then how to do the scoring and how to administer the test specifically will be something that we'll be covering in the next one. So this video is just about the general conception of BKT. Okay, now let's start it. Now first is that you'll have to know that BKT Binet Kamat test was developed in 1967 by Dr. V.V. Kamat, and it is an Indian adaptation of the original Stanford Binet intelligence test. It is designed to measure intellectual functioning in children and young adults aged 3 to 22 years old. Now, it assesses various cognitive areas through a series of tasks, and it gives us a detailed profile rather than just a simple IQ number. Although it will be used eventually just for the IQ number, but then given the test, you will understand when you administer the test, you will understand where the child is particularly lacking. Okay, like which items are in particular ages that they are not able to do. For example, a child might not be able to answer, let's suppose, some visual cognitive stuff, okay, or some conceptual thinking stuff or reasoning stuff. Then you might be able to develop a profile based upon that. Now, why was BKT essentially developed was because while the Stanford test was widely used internationally, it was culturally and linguistically suited for Western population. There were some items that were very pertaining to the Western populations itself. So it would do is it would eventually lead to false IQ scores or lesser IQ scores for Indian children who did not know that particular concepts that were popular in the Western culture. It was Dr. Kamat who adapted the test to better reflect Indian languages, culture and educational context. Now that is why this makes the BKT far more valid and reliable for Indian children than direct imports of Western tests. Okay. What cognitive domain does BKT essentially assesses? Now there are about 6 broad areas that are very important for intellectual development. So first is your language skill. It would be including your comprehension, vocabulary and expression. Memory, that is both immediate recall and long-term memory. Conceptual thinking is basic understanding of concepts and the relationship between two ideas. Reasoning would be verbal and non-verbal problem solving. Visual motor coordination is something that is task involving your hand-eye coordination. And for social intelligence, understanding social situations and emotions, obviously. Now, let's look at one of the examples of it, right? Now, for language in BKT, there would be wherein you would ask the child to define certain concepts, certain words. For example, honesty, like what they mean by that. And there are particular scoring criteria about what answers you would be able to score and what you won't be. Okay. So there will be honesty, or for simpler simpler ones, it could be apple, or what does friend mean. Okay, so what this does, it measures vocabulary and verbal knowledge, which are basically essential for communication and academic success. Then, for example, for visual motor coordination is wherein the child would ask you would ask your child to copy a geometric figure. Usually there is, I think, a diamond and a square and I'll show you in the next card. So there are about, I think, 3 to 4 geometric figures that you would show the child. Either you would keep that in front of the child and ask them to draw it by seeing it, or you would show them for 10 seconds or 15 seconds and then you would take the card away and have them draw it from their memory. Okay, now what this is doing is this is helping us identify issues that would affect tasks like writing or drawing, which are some of the vital skills in schools and domains. Okay, now each domain items highlight areas of strength and challenges, which is crucial for personalized education. BKT is administered individually by a trained psychologist. The process usually starts with easy tasks. More will be covered later on, but which age you would need to start would be something that is something that will be determined by you. Now in some of the hospitals, particularly in China, what you would do is, let's suppose the client's biological ages, you would have to measure biological age, that I'll show you. So the client's age is this. Let's suppose he is 10 years old. So usually if you can see the child is able to answer, or if you will be need to observing the child, you will need to build a rapport in the first part. And let's suppose the child is 10, so you would usually start with 2 points below, that is, you would start with age 8 or you would start with age 7. Again, this is your clinical judgment. If you think the child might not be able to answer items on 6 or 7 better, then you would go to below ages. Okay, usually the point is not to tire the child, so it is not very practical to start administering the test from the age 3 itself and then go up, because the items are easy and the child might get just bored and not answer the difficult questions later on. So it's very useful that you either start with 2 ages below to get your basal age. In a particular given age, when a child is passing, that is when a child is answering all correct answers. In let's suppose a child of age 10 answers all correct ages. At age 7, all questions are answered correctly by him. That is your basal age. Now, as a child fails all items at a certain level, that's called your terminal age. Okay, so let's suppose the child is 10, then he might be that he might fail to answer all the questions of 12. Okay, now this triangulation determines the child's mental age, which is how developed their intellectual functioning is compared to their chronological age. So the IQ score is usually calculated as IQ equals to mental age upon chronological age into 100. And IQ close to 100 means average intelligence. Scores below 70 would often indicate an intellectual disability. Why exactly is BKT such a valuable test in Indian context is that India is a very rich cultural and linguistic diversity, okay, which means that imported tests often do not capture the true abilities. There are children who might not be able to answer. Okay, so BKT has adaptation into Marathi, Kannada and Gujarati along with contextually relevant content, makes it better suited for Indian children and adolescents, obviously. Then usually the hierarchy goes such that if a child has okay, so the test is usually conducted in whatever the test language is. So in the science, what we used to do is that let's suppose the child is comfortable with Marathi language, so we would administer the test in Marathi language till his chronological age, that is, let's suppose age 18. After that, if he is academically in English medium school, then the test would be administered in English language, regardless whether the child is, if Marathi, then Marathi and Hindi. Usually the lineup is English, then Hindi, then Marathi. Okay. So what it does, it basically makes is contextually relevant content, makes it better suited for Indian children. Now this cultural relevance works in reducing biases and making assessments fairer and more helpful for planning interventions and support. Now, why or how is BKT is used is first is identifying children with intellectual disabilities or learning disabilities. So for LD certificate, the BKT will be conducted. Okay. It supports special education planning. It helps track cognitive development over time, and it assists clinicians in diagnosing developmental delays or monitoring intervention control. Now the test doesn't just produce a number. Psychologists have to analyze patterns across different domains. For example, Child might have a strong verbal reasoning but poor visual motor skill. This could explain difficulties with writing but not with understanding concepts verbally. So such insights helps target therapies or educational strategies very precisely. So to recap, the Binet Kamat test is a culturally adapted comprehensive tool for assessing intelligence in Indian children and young adults. It looks beyond a single IQ number, profiling key areas of cognitive functions. Now in upcoming videos, we'll be diving into administrative tips. We'll look at the entire manual and I'll be telling you some of the difficult administrations that might not be that easier to understand when you're reading the manual. Then we'll move on in the next video. We'll be looking at scoring nuances and obviously some case studies that will help you master BKT. If you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell icon to stay updated. Questions or topics you want me to cover, drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching this.